Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear class, Assalamu alaikum. Today I am talking on the following topic. There are three small topics in it. Number 1, gastric lavage. Number 2, emesis. And number 3, antidotes. In the previous lecture, we have discussed in last slides that how a poison can get into body through different routes and how you can treat, and treatment depends upon the route of administration. So we have discussed about inhaled poisons, injected poisons, poisons applied on skin, and the fourth category is ingested poisons. So today we will discuss how ingested poisons which enter through GIT, how their treatment can be done. So out of these three, the first I will take up emesis. Now what is emesis? Emesis, emetic, these words perhaps are familiar to you. That means to take out something from the body. Through the other word we can use, simple word for emesis is vomiting, to induce vomiting. So that this process is natural, and as well as it can be induced also. So there are various methods to induce emesis. Now what is the objective, or what is the advantage, or what is the rationale for emesis? That is to get out of poison from the body. Poison should be thrown out of the body. So following methods or techniques are used, like household emetics can be used and drugs can be used. Among household emetics, number 1 is warm water, because warm water sometimes it acts like an emetic, it can induce emesis. Number 2, mustard powder in water. This mustard powder is taken in 15 grams quantity and mixed with water, 1 glass of water, and it may induce vomiting. Number 3, salt solution. Now that means there is salt is added to water. Now this may be dangerous due to large overdose. How overdose occurs? Suppose if a person, a victim or patient, especially children, if someone wants to get rid of poison, maybe parents at home, they provide that child with 1 glass of saline water. But suppose if poisoning doesn't take place, then they may give him another glass and still another glass. So if he takes 3 or 4 cups of salt water, then that can cause toxicity. So what happens? There is rise in sodium level because salt, then there is increased tonicity because of that, then intracellular fluid moves out into blood to dilute it, because all this is taking place in blood, and so to counter this, intracellular fluid moves out into extracellular space, that is blood, to dilute it. So we may call it osmosis. This results in shrinking of cells, first in brain and then heart and other organs. So this results in loss of their function and increased intracranial pressure in brain, which leads to severe intraventricular hemorrhage and thrombosis throughout brain, and it may cause death. So this salt solution in large quantity is very toxic to organs, especially brain, and that can cause death. Number 4, IPCAG. This is 1 to 2 grams of IPCAG, or there is serum in warm water. Now coming to drugs, the most important drug used is apomorphine. This is a derivative of morphine. It has selective action on vomiting. It can be given orally as well as by subcutaneous injection. So dose of injection is 6 milligram by subcutaneous injection, followed by naloxone to counter its narcotic effect. Since it is a derivative of morphine, so it may induce narcosis. So to counter that, its antidote is also given, which is naloxone. Now, what are advantages of this injection? Number 1, it causes prompt vomiting within 3 to 5 minutes. That means vomiting is quicker, which in turn benefits the patient to heal. Number 2, it facilitates gastric lavage by removing gastric contents. So it can, even if gastric lavage has to be done, it will remove some of the poison, and the other can be removed by gastric lavage or stomach wash. So it is also helpful in reflux of upper intestinal contents into stomach. Now this apomorphine may be given orally or by subcutaneous injection. If it is given orally, then it will cause vomiting after 30 minutes. So that was first method to be discussed today, emesis. Second method and most important is gastric lavage or stomach wash. So this is important SCQ question. Usually the question asked is what are indications, contraindications and hazards of gastric lavage. So lavar means to wash. Gastric lavage means washing of stomach. Now what are indications of gastric lavage? There are 3. Number 1, within 4 to 6 hours after ingestion of a poison. So a victim or patient with intake of ingested poison within 4 to 6 hours, if he or she is brought to doctor emergency, then it's effective, indicated. Number 2, where emesis is contraindicated. So second indication is that if emesis can't be done, then it is the procedure of choice. Number 3, third indication is quick removal of ingested poison. So since this is a process which after some time, when you have performed this gastric lavage, the poison is almost removed from the stomach. So that means it is you ensure that there is no poison left, and so it is quickly removed. That was about indications. The contraindications of gastric lavage may be divided into 2: absolute. Number 1, absolute. Number 2, relative. So absolute contraindication is it is not done in case of corrosives like mineral acids and alkalis, it's not done, it's contraindicated. Then relative contraindications is for in case of strychnine poisoning, in case of kerosene oil poisoning, in case of coma, in case of hypothermia. In these conditions, it shouldn't be done, it is contraindicated generally. But if you take certain precautions, suppose in strychnine poison, if you control convulsions properly, then you can perform. Similarly, in kerosene oil poisoning, if you take some precautions, you can perform, and similarly in coma and hypothermia. Now, in the picture you can see a tube which is called gastric tube. It is used for stomach wash, and the parts of stomach tube are: number one, you can see mouth gag with a central hole. So you can see the upper funnel shape structure, that is mouth gag. Stomach tube in adults with filter funnel at upper end with suction bulb. So actually mouth gag is not shown here, the upper end is funnel tube and it has suction bulb. So it is the part from where that gastric lavage fluid is introduced. Now second is stomach tube itself. Then there is a lower end which is rounded, blunt and opening on sides. Tube is marked at a point 50 centimeter from lower end. So that means 50 centimeter of tube should be introduced in the body. Now how this gastric lavage is performed? For that there is procedure. First there should be patient should be in a position which is prone or semi-prone on his side, with hips higher than head, to aid respiratory drainage and prevent weak agitated material enter respiratory tract. So it's a peculiar position, prone or semi-prone on his side. So hips should be higher than head. In that way, the fluid, the poisonous fluid coming from the stomach, coming out of the body of the patient will be easily come out, and also it will help not to enter in respiratory area. So what precautions you have to take? If there are dentures or artificial teeth, they must be removed and airways should be clear and clean. Now what are the steps to perform this? So lower end of the stomach tube is passed, it is lubricated, it passed through the hole in the middle of the mouth gag. So mouth gag is placed in teeth, between upper and lower teeth, and there is a hole in the center, and from there this gastric tube is passed inside the body, then over tongue, down to esophagus, and the tip of the tube should reach in stomach. Now how to determine that tube has gone into stomach and hasn't gone to some other place like trachea? So there will be bubble sounds if the tube has gone into stomach. That will ensure that it has gone to right place. But if it gets into trachea, then there will be hissing noise, reflex coughing will be there, air bubbles coming out of funnel and dipped in water. So if this tube accidentally or by mistake goes to trachea, these these things will be seen. After you ensure that tube has passed into stomach properly, then you will add water through the upper end, and that first washing is with plain warm water. Then subsequent washings, you will keep on adding fluid, 500 ml of fluid each time, which is gastric lavage fluid, which contains some chemical which will also interact with poison. So you will continue this process until the fluid which is coming back, because every time some fluid will come back from the stomach out of the body. So until it becomes same color and character as lavage fluid. There is some solution should be left in stomach after lavage is performed. So then that should be left in the stomach with addition of magnesium sulfate. So then those are the steps of gastric lavage. Then gastric lavage in children is done by Royal's tube. This is a number 8 to 12 French rubber catheter, 25 centimeter long, and 50 ml glass syringe is used. Next is what are complications and hazards of gastric lavage or stomach wash. The most important complication is perforation of stomach, because if the tube is not properly carefully induced, it can injure the wall of stomach and cause even perforation and can go into peritoneum. And also if it reaches there, it can cause peritonitis. Then aspiration pneumonia. So if it goes inside lungs, trachea, then it can cause aspiration pneumonia. It can also injure the upper GIT tract like esophagus. It can cause bleeding of the tissues if it injures the walls. Because of injuries, there can be bleeding also. It can also cause choking if it is impacted in trachea. That means it will cause asphyxia or obstruction to breathing, and it may result in death of the person. Then due to stimulation of vagus nerve, it can cause cardiac arrest. That is immediate, that it may cause sudden death. Lastly, it can also cause psychological trauma due to it is not well taken by patient or he dislikes it. So with that, we have discussed gastric lavage, its indications, contraindications, complications and hazards, and brief procedure. For details, you can consult the book. After that, coming to treatment, we will discuss antidotes or use of antidotes. Antidotes are remedies which counteract or neutralize effects of poison without causing harm to body. So what are indications of antidotes? There are three. Number one, poison may not have been completely removed by emesis or gastric lavage, or both are contraindicated. So either emesis has not completely removed poison, or gastric lavage also was not successful at removing the poison, or both can't be performed. As you have seen the contraindications of gastric lavage, similarly there are some contraindications of emesis also. So in both cases, you will not perform gastric lavage and emesis and come give directly the antidotes. Number 2, indication number 2 is poisons have already absorbed. So it is too late to do emesis or gastric lavage because that time is over and now it's long time, maybe a day or so. So then they are useless. Gastric lavage and emesis are useless. So antidotes are indicated. Number 3, poisons are given by route other than ingestion. So in case of ingested poisons, in case of injected poisons, inhaled poisons and through skin, gastric lavage or emesis is not performed and directly antidotes are given. Coming to antidotes, next is classification of antidotes or types of antidotes. This again is very important question like gastric lavage, and classification is asked and then maybe some description of a group of these antidotes may be asked. So antidotes may be divided into 7 groups based on their mechanism of action. Group number 1 is mechanical or physical antidotes. As the name suggests, these antidotes act mechanically or physically. They don't come into chemical reaction with poison. Number 2, chemical antidotes. Now these are substances or compounds which form a reaction, a chemical reaction with the poison when they reach the body, and hence they neutralize it or decrease its effect. Number 3, receptor or pharmacological antidotes. These act at receptor level. Number 4, functional or physiological antidotes. Number 5, dispositional antidotes. Number 6, universal antidote. And number 7, chelating agents. So these names are very important. If you are asked a question, classifies, at least you should be able to remember these names. I repeat again. Number 1, mechanical or physical antidotes. Number 2, chemical antidotes. Number 3, receptor or pharmacological antidotes. Number 4, functional or physiological antidotes. Number 5, dispositional antidotes. Number 6, universal antidote. Number 7, chelating agents. So coming to number 1, mechanical antidotes. They impede absorption by their presence. That means they prevent absorption of poison mechanically when they are there. So they form a barrier or some obstruction to the absorption of poison. Examples are 3 main examples. Number 1 is demulcents. Number 2, bulky food. Number 3, activated charcoal. So number 1 is demulcents. They prevent absorption by forming a coating on mucous membrane of stomach. Example is fats, oil, milk and egg albumin. So mostly they are fatty substances which form a barrier or coating on the mucous membrane, so they may prevent absorption of stomach. Number 2 are bulky foods. Example is banana. So these foods which have enough volume or bulk they imprison glass particles. If suppose someone has ingested small pieces of glass particles, and then banana can engulf or attach to those particles mechanically. Number 3 is activated charcoal. Now this is very effective and most important mechanical antidote, and also this is very important SCQ. Generally the question is asked, what is activated charcoal, what is its mechanism of action, what is its dose, indications, contraindications, etc. So it's a very effective mechanical antidote. It adsorbs many poisons, especially alkaloidal and mineral poisons. So the word is adsorb. It is different than absorb. So adsorb is a mechanical action. So it is mode or mechanism is adsorption, not absorption. So how it is activated charcoal is produced? It is produced by burning or destructive distillation of pulp of wood and heated to higher temperature, which is called activation. Then it becomes activated charcoal. So what are its properties? It's inert. That means it is not a chemical compound or doesn't take place in chemical action. It's tasteless, odorless, becomes paste on mixing with water. So it can be to give somebody to patient, it is mixed with water, or it is also available already in this form. Commercial preparations which already have, there is nothing to add. So mechanism of action is adsorption. Now what is the dose of activated charcoal? It is 60 to 100 grams mixed in water in ratio of 1 to 5. That means 1 part of activated charcoal in 5 parts of water in adults, and 30 to 60 grams is in children. So what are indications of activated charcoal? Number 1, where emesis is contraindicated. Number 2, after emesis, even emesis is done, it can be given. Number 3, in unconscious patient, it can be given. It has no hazards like gastric lavage. So what is the contraindication of activated charcoal? Absence of bowel sounds. That means if there are no bowel sounds, which shows there is intestinal obstruction, in that case it won't be given. So with that I conclude today's lecture, and we will discuss the next topic, antidotes, in the next lecture. Thank you.